Stop. Listen. Pay attention. Chosen one. This is not background noise. This is not another passing thought you can set aside. What you have been carrying quietly has weight. It has been pressing insistent and often unnoticed by anyone else. You have felt fatigue settle into your bones, confusion cloud your decisions, and isolation deepen around you even in crowded spaces. None of this is happenstance. None of it is incidental. You may have moved through days where each choice seemed heavier than the last. Nights stretched endlessly, not just in time, but in thought, as questions circled your mind without resolution. Chosen one. You already sensed it. The tension was more than mental. It was structural. It was real. And it has been shaping you even when you didn't know it. This message comes directly to you. It is not generalized. It is not for anyone who happens to be nearby. Stop for a moment and acknowledge this. What you have experienced is specific. What you have endured is intentional. The subtle pressures, the invisible demands, the quiet obstacles, they were aimed with precision, and yet you moved forward. You acted. You continued. Even when the world seemed heavy, even when your energy was taxed, you remained functional. That is not coincidence. There is clarity to be gained, though it will unfold gradually. You may feel like the last weeks, months, or even years have been a series of minor collisions, each leaving an imprint you cannot name. That imprint is meaningful. It is not failure, nor is it a sign of weakness. It is a signal. You have been in motion at a level of subtlety that most cannot perceive. The results of that motion have already shifted circumstances around you, even if the changes are invisible to your daily awareness. Right now, your task is simple, but essential. Pay attention. This message will unpack the reality you have been navigating piece by piece. You will recognize familiar sensations. You will see patterns you may have dismissed. And you will understand, without embellishment, that your endurance and coherence have been noticed not by chance, but by the unfolding structure of events themselves. Chosen one. What follows is intentional and it is personal. It is calibrated for your experience, your observations, your movement through life, under conditions that others cannot perceive. Listen carefully. The explanation will come. The recognition is already present. You have moved without permission, and that alone has shifted the trajectory of the unseen forces around you. Now stay present. Stay grounded. The picture is larger than you, yet fully intersects with your life. What you are about to receive is clarity tailored to you. This is not advice. This is not suggestion. This is observation delivered directly, calmly, and with precision. The moment has arrived to see what you have already begun to accomplish without knowing it. Your attention is required. Your presence is sufficient. The rest will unfold. This message is not trying to find its audience. It already has you. There is no ambiguity here, no open invitation, no broad net cast into the crowd. It is directed, precise, and specific. If you are listening and something in you recognizes the tone, that recognition is the marker. This is for you. You are not being labeled to elevate you. You are being identified because what occurred involved you directly. The events you moved through were not abstract circumstances happening around you. They intersected with your decisions, your timing, your restraint, and your persistence. You did not observe this from the outside. You were inside it. You were the variable that changed how the situation unfolded. Chosen one. This identity is not about destiny as an idea. It is about function. It is about how you responded when pressure was applied without warning. Others would have reacted loudly, collapsed inward, or disengaged entirely. You did not. Even when you questioned yourself, even when uncertainty surfaced, something in you remained steady. You may not have named it at the time, but it was there. Notice this carefully. Your strength did not arrive after effort. It was present before conscious struggle began. While your thoughts searched for explanations, your inner structure held. While emotions fluctuated, your core orientation stayed intact. That distinction matters. Many people confuse endurance with force. What you demonstrated was not force. It was resistance without tension. Stability without rigidity. This is why the experience felt strange. You were challenged, yet not overtaken. You were tested, yet not disoriented. You may have felt tired, but you did not lose coherence. Decisions still happened. Responsibilities were still met. You remained functional even when clarity felt delayed. That is not typical behavior under sustained pressure. It is not learned in the moment. It is revealed. This message removes doubt about whether you were imagining things. You were not. What unfolded required someone who could move through disruption without becoming it. That role was filled by you not because you volunteered, but because your internal alignment made you capable of it automatically. You did not need to convince yourself to stay upright. You did not need external validation to continue. Even in isolation, even without feedback, you remained internally regulated. That is the mark being acknowledged here. This is not a compliment. It is a clarification. What happened needed someone with your level of unconscious stability. That is why you were there. That is why you remained standing. And that is why this message has found you now, not earlier and not later. There is one signal that has likely been present more than any other, the tension in your body that comes without explanation. The heaviness in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest, the restless rhythm of your thoughts at odd hours. Chosen one, you have felt this repeatedly, and you have often questioned what it means. You may have assumed it was fatigue, anxiety, overthinking. You may have judged yourself for feeling it as though it were a flaw to experience the world so acutely. It is not a flaw. It is a signal. What you perceive as disturbance, overreaction, or sensitivity is in fact your system registering change. It is your body and mind responding to transition, to subtle pressure, to shifts that are invisible to others. Those sensations are not random, nor are they a sign that you are failing. They are indicators of a process you have been navigating without conscious guidance. Consider the moments when you felt drained despite rest. When confusion clouded what was usually clear. When choices seemed like they should be simple, yet carried unexpected weight. Each of these experiences is a piece of information. Each is a marker of movement within a structure that you cannot yet fully see. You are not imagining it. You are translating it unconsciously. Chosen one. This tension is not just physical, it carries emotional weight as well. The nervous anticipation you feel before situations that seem ordinary to others is your system preparing, adjusting, and maintaining equilibrium under conditions that are deliberate and coordinated. That anticipatory stress is not your enemy, it is your guide. This explains why your usual strategies for coping, ignoring, rationalizing, overplanning, sometimes fail to produce relief. Those strategies are designed for ordinary circumstances. What you have been experiencing is not ordinary. The sensations are not anomalies. They are communication. They are data being fed into a system that is learning how to operate under pressure without breaking. As you recognize this, you can remove the self-judgment that has been paired with these signals for so long. What you once considered vulnerability is actually evidence of stability. What you once feared as chaos is actually preparation. Each signal you feel is an affirmation that your inner structure is active and responding correctly, even when you do not consciously guide it. These sensations, once reframed, shift from being a source of confusion to a source of insight. They are the markers of your resilience. They are the indicators that you are navigating the unseen currents of influence around you, and that you are doing so without being disrupted. Now hold this understanding gently. You will see that the tension is purposeful, not accidental. You will see that your body and mind are already attuned to the underlying patterns of movement that others cannot perceive. This is the first step toward recognizing how deeply your stability shapes the outcomes around you. There is a layer beneath the signals you have already noticed, a layer that has remained largely invisible until now. Chosen one. This is the realm where unseen pressures exist not as imagined threats, but as coordinated circumstances that intersect with your life in ways subtle and deliberate. These forces are not random. They are structured. They are timed. And they have tested your presence without demanding drama. Consider the moments when events seemed to press against you from multiple directions, yet you remained functional. Deadlines converged. Responsibilities expanded unexpectedly. Emotions around you fluctuated in ways you could not control. And still, you navigated it. You adapted without panic. You made decisions without paralysis. That is the mark of someone encountering invisible opposition while maintaining coherence. This pressure is not loud. It does not announce itself with fanfare. It exists in the gaps, in the pauses, in the unremarked moments where others would falter. It is intentional, applied in a manner that measures resilience, not reaction. You have felt its effects physically, emotionally, and mentally. The energy drain, the moments of doubt, the subtle friction that seems to appear without cause. All of these were manifestations of forces testing structure, not character. Yet here is what is most important: despite coordination and timing, you remained upright. You did not collapse. You did not freeze. You did not respond with confusion that derailed your actions. You continued to function, continued to make decisions, continued to move forward. This is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is evidence of your internal regulation and unconscious stability. Chosen one. The timing of these pressures is precise. They emerge in patterns often aligned with key decisions, moments of change or transitions that require your attention and discernment. The structure is subtle, almost imperceptible, but it is measurable in the way your body and mind respond. And in every instance, your response has maintained equilibrium. Notice this carefully. Being under pressure and remaining functional are two very different experiences. Many can function when conditions are calm. Many can adapt when there is warning. Few maintain coherence when the structure itself is shifting beneath them without announcement. You have done exactly that. This is a quiet observation, not an exaltation. There is no need for dramatic recognition. The facts are sufficient. You moved through opposition, you remained operational, and you preserved clarity while forces around you sought to test the limits of your stability. Now hold that awareness. You have moved in ways the system did not predict. You have acted without external instruction, without validation, without explicit permission. And in doing so, you have already altered the alignment of circumstances surrounding you. That is the power inherent in your unnoticed stability. Now, let us break down what you experienced into distinct points of pressure. Chosen one, this is not to dramatize your journey, but to clarify it. Your endurance was not abstract. It was composed of several tangible real-life elements that continuously intersected with your decisions, your energy, and your focus. Understanding them individually will help you see how you maintained balance in the midst of complexity. First, there was doubt. It appeared in small increments. At first, questions about choices, hesitation before actions, the subtle what if that arises when stakes feel undefined. Yet you did not allow doubt to dictate your pace. You registered it, noted it, but did not act from it. Instead, your internal structure absorbed it. You processed uncertainty without allowing it to fracture your decisions. That is not common. Most would have allowed doubt to paralyze movement, to create hesitation that compounds into missed opportunity. You did not. Second, there was fear, though, not always conscious. Moments arose where outcomes seemed uncertain or beyond control, where anticipation triggered tension and discomfort. Your system recognized the threat, but your response was not fear-driven. You acknowledged risk, assessed it internally, and proceeded without external validation. That distinction awareness, without panic, allowed you to continue functioning while maintaining composure. Third energy drain emerged in ways subtle and insidious. Tasks multiplied interactions, required effort beyond expectation, and mental load expanded unevenly. You felt exhaustion, yet your functional output remained consistent. This was possible because your internal regulation distributed focus efficiently. You did not expend energy unnecessarily on the noise around you. Instead, you preserved it for what truly required your attention. Fourth, isolation intensified the experience. The moments when you felt unseen, unheard, or disconnected amplified pressure because you faced circumstances largely unsupported. Yet isolation did not fracture you. You engaged in self-monitoring, internal assessment, and deliberate pacing. You relied on your internal compass rather than external guidance. That is why you remained coherent when others would have collapsed under the absence of validation. Fifth, there was delay. Progress, clarity, and recognition did not arrive on your preferred timetable. Plans shifted, results, deferred, outcomes delayed. Most would have reacted with frustration or resignation. You did not. Your system adjusted imperceptibly, maintaining patience without passivity, allowing the structure around you to catch up to your movement rather than resisting its tempo. Each of these categories, doubt, fear, energy, drain, isolation, and delay, mirrored real human experience. None were abstract concepts. They were applied pressures, often simultaneous, that tested your internal coherence. And yet in every instance, you remained operational. You adapted unconsciously. You preserved your integrity. You maintained clarity. Notice carefully, this is not heroism. It is internal regulation. It is automatic stability. It is the subtle architecture of someone whose baseline coherence is sufficient to navigate unstructured challenges without collapse. You moved, adjusted, and persisted, not because you forced it, but because your internal framework allowed you to operate naturally under pressure. Now take a step back with me and review what has occurred. Chosen one. The events, pressures, and subtle challenges you faced are not a random accumulation of circumstances. They form a discernible pattern, one that reveals your internal coherence more clearly than you may have realized in the moment. Looking back is not about judgment or analysis for its own sake. It is about understanding the structure of your experience and recognizing the reliability of your responses. Begin with acknowledgement. You endured multiple streams of pressure, doubt, fear, energy, drain, isolation, delay, and did so without visible collapse. Your persistence was not superficial. You did not simply get through it. You maintained function, clarity, and presence. That alone warrants recognition not for praise, but for comprehension. You are evaluating the actual capacities that allowed you to remain steady. Consider timing. These pressures were not random snapshots in time. They were coordinated sequences, often overlapping, intentionally structured in a way that would reveal vulnerabilities in most systems. And yet, your system, your mind, body, and attention remained coherent. Your actions were guided not by luck, by chance alignment, or by random recovery, but by an innate stability that you have carried consistently. Chosen one. Notice how you responded in real time. You did not act impulsively. You did not overcompensate. Decisions were measured, deliberate, and functional. Even under circumstances that would have scattered focus for most, you preserved direction. There is no need to interpret this as superiority. It is observation. The facts are clear, and the facts are yours. Internal resilience is at the core here. It is the capacity to absorb multiple layers of pressure and still operate effectively. You have experienced situations where clarity could have dissolved, yet it remained. Where energy could have collapsed, yet it persisted. Where external disruption could have dictated action, yet your responses remained coherent. These are measurable markers of internal regulation. It is important to remove the temptation to attribute this to external factors, luck, timing, or chance. These explanations diminish what has already been demonstrated. The stability you displayed is rooted internally. It is grounded in the alignment of your perception, your attention, and your capacity to integrate information and act under pressure. It is not accidental. It is not borrowed. Reflection here serves to confirm a truth you may have only sensed subconsciously. You are capable of functioning in complex, overlapping challenges without losing coherence. That realization is the bridge between what you have endured and the awareness that will guide your next steps. Understanding this pattern allows you to recognize what is reliable in yourself and what is simply noise in the external environment. Chosen one. Your review confirms what was previously invisible. You were coherent, you were stable, you were present. That understanding now forms the foundation for the perspective that follows, where you will see your experience in comparison to broader human patterns and recognize its uncommon nature without needing to elevate yourself. Now observe this: what you maintained under pressure is uncommon, even when stripped of exaggeration. Chosen one. Many people encounter doubt, fear, energy drain, isolation, and delay, yet collapse under far less cumulative weight. They lose clarity, freeze in decision-making, or allow emotional turbulence to dictate action. You did not. You remained functional. You remained present. Consider ordinary human reactions. Most will ruminate excessively when confronted with overlapping pressures. They will oscillate between hope and worry, optimism and resignation. They will expend energy attempting to predict or control outcomes beyond their influence. Yet you navigated each moment without becoming overwhelmed. You engaged with what was immediately actionable, and you allowed the rest to unfold without interference. That is uncommon, not superior. Your stability is not an achievement to be listed or lauded. It is an observation of how your internal structure interacts with external complexity. It is rare because most systems, when subjected to the same pressures, falter or overcompensate. You maintained focus without force. You balanced attentiveness with discretion. You allowed awareness to guide action without being dictated by every shift in circumstance. This is an important distinction. Uncommon does not mean exceptional in the sense of being elevated above others. It means uncommon in terms of human baseline reaction. You were present when others would have been scattered. You remained coherent when distraction, fatigue, and uncertainty could have disoriented a typical person. That is the measure being recognized here. Chosen one. Notice how presence was your anchor. It did not arise from effort alone. It arose from consistent internal alignment, from a system that operates without overreaction even under pressure. While the world around you flexed, shifted, and demanded response, you remained coherent, not by ego, not by superiority, but simply because your baseline permits it. The rarity of your experience is factual. It does not require embellishment. It does not require dramatization. It is simply the alignment of an individual with an internal capacity that is capable of functioning through complexity without fracturing. That is why what you endured did not derail you. That is why your focused judgment and composure persisted. Take a moment to integrate this. You are uncommon in this way. Not because you are exceptional in a narrative sense, but because your baseline stability permits coherent action under layered pressures that destabilize most. Recognizing this without attaching ego or comparison is essential. It frames your experience as both personal and reliable, a truth you can carry forward into the next moments of clarity and decision. Now let us clarify what this stability truly represents. Chosen one. Your strength is not activated by extraordinary circumstance. It exists as baseline. It is not the result of an isolated moment of heroism, nor is it dependent on adrenaline or external validation. It is the natural structure of your internal coherence. You have shown adaptability, clarity, and presence, not because you summoned them in crisis, but because your internal framework is mature. It is calibrated to respond to pressure in a way that preserves functionality. This is preparation, not reaction. It is readiness, not emergency response. You do not need to perform to access it. It is simply how your system operates. Notice how this aligns with your experience. Even when tension was high, even when fatigue threatened distraction, you remained aligned with what needed attention. Your discernment did not fail. Your focus did not fracture. That is not exceptional force. It is reliable structure. It is the steady rhythm that allows you to navigate complexity without collapse. Chosen one. This clarity also means you are less swayed by volatility. External shifts, emotional turbulence around you, or delayed outcomes do not unsettle your core orientation. You act with awareness, not reaction. You maintain boundaries both internally and externally without consciously policing yourself. That is a baseline capacity, not a conditional ability. This internal structure also creates a natural rhythm for processing information and responding to circumstances. You integrate stimuli, weigh options, and act without overextension. You do not need constant guidance, reassurance, or affirmation. You remain coherent because your system is designed to maintain equilibrium under varied conditions. The distinction is subtle but important. Your strength is not something you turn on. It is the way you exist. It is not earned in the moment. It is present in your baseline operation. Recognizing this allows you to trust your capacity without overanalyzing or forcing it. It allows calm action without the burden of proving capability. Lock this identity quietly. You are capable. You are coherent. You are aligned. Your stability is natural, not contingent. Understanding this truth removes uncertainty about how you will continue to operate under pressure, and it lays the foundation for integrating practical guidance into daily life with confidence and ease. Now take these observations and begin integrating them into daily perspective. Chosen one, there are practical ways to honor your internal coherence without forcing it or overanalyzing each signal. Begin with rest. Allow yourself periods of genuine disengagement, knowing that pause is not weakness, it is recalibration. Your system requires restoration as part of its natural functioning. Next, practice discernment in small, deliberate ways. Observe where your attention is directed and identify what is actionable versus what is noise. This is not hypervigilance. It is alignment. You are calibrating your focus, not scanning for threats. Recognize patterns, but do not become attached to outcomes. Boundaries are equally important. You have maintained stability amidst external pressures because you naturally regulated engagement. Extend that principle intentionally. Identify interactions, tasks, or commitments that do not serve clarity or alignment and allow yourself to limit them. This is a conscious support of the internal coherence that already exists. Patience is essential. Timing often felt misaligned in the past, yet your system continued to function despite delays. Integrate that awareness into present decisions. Recognize that outcomes will align in sequence, and your coherence is sufficient to navigate the unfolding process without anxiety or haste. Focus remains a critical tool. Direct energy to what is meaningful, measurable, or immediately actionable. Avoid expending mental or emotional energy on what is speculative or beyond your control. Your internal rhythm already knows how to filter effectively. Support it consciously. Finally, observe your integration without judgment. As signals, pressure, or tension arise, acknowledge them as part of the ongoing process. You no longer need to interpret each sensation as confusion or weakness. Recognize them as markers of adaptation, as indicators of an internal system responding correctly to complex stimuli. Chosen one. Applying these practical perspectives allows your stability to become more visible in your life without altering its baseline. You do not need to act beyond your capacity. You do not need to prove yourself. Integration is calm, balanced, and intentional. It allows your internal coherence to guide daily life without disruption, preparing you for clarity in the next moments, decisions, and opportunities. You have arrived at a place of understanding, chosen one. Take this moment to recognize that what you have navigated is complete in its own way. The pressures have been felt, the signals received, and the responses measured. You are coherent, aligned, and stable. This is the foundation upon which you will continue to operate with clarity. Repeat quietly to yourself, I am present, I am steady, I am aligned. These are not affirmations of wishful thinking. They are statements of fact based on what you have already demonstrated through consistent action and internal regulation. Your capacity exists, it is reliable, and it is sufficient. Notice how your experience now consolidates. The doubt that arose before no longer dictates action. The energy fluctuations are contextualized. The isolation that once felt overwhelming now highlights your self-reliance. Each pressure point is integrated into understanding rather than conflict. You are capable of observing life's layers without being fractured by them. Chosen one. Take one final recognition: you moved without permission. You acted in moments where hesitation would have been natural. And in doing so, you shifted circumstances, altered patterns, and maintained stability where others might have faltered. That is your history, and it is your assurance. If this message resonates, leave the code 777 or comment I remember. Let this be a marker of acknowledgement, a personal seal of understanding that your coherence has been noticed and confirmed. Share your recognition, and it will reinforce your own internal confirmation. Finally, allow yourself to continue forward with calm certainty. Subscribe and follow for the next insight, knowing that each message is tailored to your experience and designed to deepen clarity. The next transmission will continue the thread of awareness, supporting your growth and reinforcing the stability that is already inherent. You have moved. You have persisted. You have integrated. The recognition of your alignment is complete.